Good morning. Welcome to the community of First Unitarian Church of Omaha. I'm Reverend Sherry Woodbury, the minister here. A special welcome to any visitors who might have wandered in this morning. This is a congregation of all ages and abilities. It's a community with a rainbow of gender and sexual identities, a community of diverse cultural and class backgrounds. We draw from many sources of inspiration and share common liberal religious values. Whoever you may be, we welcome you to bring your whole self into this space. Today, the annual congregational meeting is taking place in lieu of the worship service. If we have visitors who are interested in learning about the church, you can join Melissa Gibson, our membership coordinator, who's there at the back waving. She's going to be in the lounge, which is down this hall in the corner, in the room with the comfy couches, to hold First Steps, which is an informal conversation to share one another's journeys and learn more about this congregation and its tradition. A note about online participation. As you have probably gathered, one does need to be in person to vote as a member in this meeting. That was a board decision based on the complexity of managing hybrid meetings, which we're finding a bit challenging to sustain at this time and to do well. So we are live streaming this meeting on YouTube, and that is a fine way to simply observe the meeting or watch it later if someone wants to do that. Our church occupies the traditional treaty lands of the Omaha and Otoe-Missouri tribal nations, whose sovereignty existed long before the state of Nebraska. We'd also like to express our respect to other native tribes of Nebraska, including the Ponca, the Winnebago, and the Santee Sioux, and many others represented in our area. Here at First Unitarian, our aspiration is to let the land acknowledgement be just a beginning as we educate ourselves and support causes, charities, and rights of Indigenous peoples in our area. Before we properly begin the congregational meeting, I'm going to invite our outgoing board president, Mark Leskatoff, to light the flaming chalice. Would you all like to join me in the chalice lighting words? All together. Spark of the Spirit, cupped in earth's embrace, light of love, alive in all creation. As we kindle this flame, we rekindle our connection to the sacred web of life.
Good morning, everyone. I call to order the 155th annual meeting of First Unitarian Church. Let's do the covenant of right relations. Altogether, we, the congregation of First Unitarian Church of Omaha, covenant together to create a religious community where we can freely explore our values and foster diversity as a source of communal strength, to build healthy relationships, seeking to understand each other and respect our differences, to listen deeply and endeavor to communicate directly, honestly, and compassionately, particularly when we are in conflict, to do our best to make amends when we have hurt each other, even unintentionally, to learn from our mistakes, to forgive, and to reconnect in a spirit of understanding and commitment. Madam Secretary, do we have a quorum?
We have at least 49 people here and
Thank you. Now I will appoint a parliamentarian. G. David Richardson, are you willing to be the parliamentarian?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. Next, are there any objections to approving the minutes of the previous annual meeting? Hearing none, the minutes are approved. Next, are there any objections to approving the minutes of the special congregational meeting that was held on September 10th of last year? Hearing none, the minutes are approved. And now, Reverend Sherry will tell us about the state of the church.
In this State of the Church address, I'll focus mainly on the ministries of the church with some highlights from the past year from what we've all done together. Play and purpose was our theme for 2023-2024. In the post-pandemic period, it was time to invite joy, to strengthen relationships of care, ponder why we're here as a church community, and embrace a curious, participatory, experimental way of being as we move toward the future. Several playful offerings were added to our usual lineup of social events and action gatherings. Rumor has it there was a very fun one of those events just last night. Play and purpose influenced our worship life too. We also explored the proposed new Article 2 values in worship this year, enjoyed several intergenerational services, tried some new rituals, including honoring our ancestors and dirt communion, and piloted a music-centered Soulful Songs Sunday worship format. Our music ministry continues with a strong choir, the Sanctuary Singers, the Offbeats, offering a variety of contemporary music styles, and special music tapping talent from both the congregation and the wider community. The congregation's caring ministry has included meal trains, rides, cards, holiday poinsettias to the homebound, and caring contacts to many in times of challenge and transition. Departed members whose lives were celebrated at the church this year include Judith Wright, Frank McKee, Genevieve Clement, Roman Noriega, Bill Anderson, and Dixie Lemon. We also remember Val Murray and Liz Stowichnich. Participation in religious education has been steady, and that's something we do not take for granted, as some of our counterparts have struggled to retain children, youth, and families post-pandemic. Our lineup of Sunday religious education opportunities serves littles, kids, and youth. We have a thriving and engaged youth group, joint with Second Unitarian, and offer a range of classes, workshops, and ongoing groups for adults, a dozen and then some. We're pleased to have overcome our previous shortage in nursery staff, which I know our families with little children really appreciate. New this year, our religious education director is beginning to bring a Montessori-like spirit play model to our youngest children, and she started working with our teens to create a dedicated teen room, something that our teens lobbied very effectively for. First Unitarian keeps alight the flame of liberal religious values. We were joyfully recognized for the renewal of our status as a GLBTQ welcoming congregation. Our members remain engaged on priority issues like reproductive justice and voting rights. And this congregation supports the wider community in concrete ways, such as through our Friends of Clare team and the food pantry, yes, meal prep group for youth emergency services, and our neighborhood care ministry. What about membership? A steady stream of people continue to find this church online and in person when they're looking for community, often sensing compatibility with the theological openness and caring values of Unitarian Universalism. I thank everyone in this church who helps to make ours a warm and welcoming community where people feel seen and valued when they visit us. 8 people became members of First UU this church year. We've welcomed some new faces on our staff as well. Judy Unger is not new. She has a long association with this church, but she has transitioned from interim to ongoing music director this church year. Mikkel Forster is a welcome addition to our nursery staff. Kindness Bryan started in December as our new AV technology coordinator. She was here earlier but had to go to actually a very special event in her life, but as I think many have seen, she has shown a lot of flexibility and dedication in that role. And we are currently addressing turnover in our custodian position. I want to close with some shout outs to folks who have made unique contributions this year. A big thanks to John Wagner and Jack Round, who were the driving forces behind getting our application submitted to the feds for our own 501c3 status. This will put us in a better position to pursue grants and other funding opportunities in the future. Kudos to our multimedia team of Bob Bosco, Gary Aminitov, and Marisa Lacek, who saw the big screen project through to its installation in November. And I think we've only begun to discover all that we can do with that. Gratitude goes to Linda Parker, Dave Richardson, and Marisa Lacek for their work to honor Grace Holdridge and the Women's Alliance, who saved the church from near extinction over a century ago. And if you haven't seen it, you can check out the new plaque in the foyer in honor of Ms. Holdridge. I want to give a shout out to our staff who have gone above and beyond, particularly in enhancing church communications this year. I don't know if you noticed the makeover of the garden entry area. We have a new video recording station in the common room, more videos, reels, visually appealing promos for church activities distributed in more and more ways. It's not easy to get on people's radar this year, and our team has worked really hard to do that, and I think done a great job. Advance thank you to Stu Shell, who has agreed to help us move forward in projects to improve accessibility for the congregation, and we welcome other volunteers to that effort. Lastly, to everyone who participated in the Fall Supplemental Pledge campaign, to all who donated goods or bid on items or volunteered for our Heart and Hand auction, which was a big success, to John Wagner and Carolyn McNamara for re-energizing the Sarah Jocelyn Society, including holding the first gathering that we've had since pandemic times for members of this planned giving society, and to all of you who helped make this spring's pledge campaign one of the most successful in years. I want to say thank you. Thank you for supporting the mission of this church. While our congregation, like so many, does face some challenges, it's good to remember that we can accomplish much when we all pitch in, tackle it head on, and work together for the greater good. These are just a few of the highlights from this year. There are some of the printed copies of the packets in each row if you want to poke through and find more details, or you can download the full annual packet online from the website. And at this time, I want to invite forward our treasurer, Walt Jested, for the treasurer's report.
Let me just begin by doing a brief summary of what's in the report that's at the very back of the annual reports in your pews. As you may remember, last year we reported at this time a much larger than expected deficit at the end of the year, and that required us to take money out of our investments, $35,000, in order to cover that deficit, and we then passed a budget that assumed a deficit for this year just ended of $40,000, along with a successful supplemental stewardship campaign, which was necessary given the outcome of the stewardship campaign last year. So at the end of the meeting, it looked like we were going to have to take money from our investments again in order to make to fill that deficit gap. and that was going to reduce our investment income in the future. So this was not a very positive outcome. It was a pretty grim presentation. But fortunately, things began to get better shortly after the meeting. Two long-term members who were concerned about our financial state gave us an anonymous one-time donation of $50,000. We then received several bequests that totaled more than $100,000. We had not had any bequests in recent years. So we used some of that income to replace the $35,000 that we had to take out of our investments to make that pot whole again. We don't have the results yet for the current year, but we expect that we'll have money from the bequest money to cover to cover the projected deficit for this year and the deficit for the year to come. So we're in much better shape than we were a year ago at this time. And unlike last year, we had a successful stewardship campaign. It went very smoothly. But we obviously have financial problems at this point. We can't continue to cover these deficits of $40,000 and $50,000 a year with bequests forever. It's just not a very workable scheme. The board is committed to finding a solution to this during this year, and I think we have a very strong board, and we will actually get this done this year. So hopefully we'll have a better budget to present next year at this time, but that's going to involve some really difficult decisions. We're going to need everybody's input to make those decisions. Our second problem this year is that we lost our insurance coverage in December. So over the Christmas holidays, we actually had no insurance for anything in this building. We were able to regain insurance for liability and for workers' comp for our staff, but as of now, we have no insurance on the building itself. We have no property insurance. This is a problem nationwide for churches and for other institutions, and we're working on it, but it's going to be very difficult to solve. So we're currently not insured, and we're quite fortunate to have gotten through the recent tornado without any damage to the building, because we would have had to pay for any of that out of our investment reserves. So we're also looking at costs for things like work on the steeple, work on the windows, and other things in the building that are far more than we can cover with the Preserve Our Building Fund, successful as that has been. And obviously we should be using bequest money for those things, but we're using bequest money to cover the gaps in our operating budget. So those are the things we're dealing with, and the board is committed to moving forward and getting a better solution to some of those financial issues. So I'm not sure I can work this, so I don't see how to get the budget up there. Thank you, Mark. Minimize the.
Well, budget.
Right.
Okay, let's put that back up. There was a tab here, budget. Right?
All right, so this is our expense budget for the coming year. Sorry for difficulties with the new technology, but I thought I would try and use it. There's a copy of this in the annual report. The proposed budget is on the far right, and this is just a reduced version of the budget. As those of you who are familiar with our budget documents know, we have. It's on page 38 or 39 or so. It's at the very back. There is a long form of this budget available if anybody wants the 4-page version. This is greatly condensed, but basically What you see here is a budget for next year of $424,500, and it's actually almost $9,900 above the current year budget. And I looked at this to find out why this was so large, given that obviously we want to keep our expenses down. And the answer to that is that $9,200 of that increase is in medical insurance costs for the 3 staff members receiving full benefits. And we may want to look at other ways to do that, but that's the majority of this increase. We have another $1,500 that's an increase in share the plate revenue, which is just passing through our budget. It's very good, but we've been more generous, and that makes us look like we have a higher budget than we would otherwise have. So if you take those two things out, this budget is actually $800 less than last year's, and there are minor changes here and there that are just corrections in the budget based on our experience this current year, but it's essentially level. If we look at the income side of this, which I think I'll need Mark's help again because I don't think we have that up here at all. Can you get me to that?
Not sure I can. Oh, here we go.
Yeah, we want the budgets.
I'm sorry.
We were looking at the budget folder there a second ago.
Yeah.
The income budget is,
Income?
no.
Nope.
This one.
Income big, right.
All right, so this is the income budget, and the income, of course, totals $424,500 again. It's balanced in that sense. I think that the pledge contributions of $275,000, we basically have those pledges in hand. We're a few $100s less than $275 right now. The $280 that we projected last year was basically unrealistic. We were projecting a more positive supplemental campaign last fall than we in fact had. So I think this is a very realistic budget. If anything, it's conservative, and we should have more than this income, and therefore a lower deficit than projected. One line to note here is the Holland Fund contribution. For 7 years now, we've been taking smaller and smaller amounts of money left to us by Dick Holland as part of his bequest, as a way to make up for the fact that we no longer had his considerable pledge as part of our stewardship campaign. We've now finished that 7-year period, so we have no contribution from Dick to this year's budget, and it's the first time in many years that that's been the case. So we're going forward, without that. This budget has a transfer from reserves, which is a polite way of saying deficit, of $50,000. We need that to make the budget work, and basically to be transparent about where we are in terms of our funding. So we expect to cover that with money from our bequests, because we've restored our reserves with bequest money, but obviously we can't continue doing that for the long term. So our goal going forward is to make the hard decisions necessary to have an operating budget that does not assume large use of reserve funds. So this is where we are. We think that the best thing to do going forward for this year is to use the reserve funds that we have available from the bequests, and to use the year to go through a discernment process, which we've already started with the sessions a few weeks ago, and there'll be more throughout the year, and questionnaires, and we hope everybody will participate in that so that we can make the kinds of decisions we need to make in order to get the budget under control. We have a bigger budget than we ought to for a church of this size. Our contributions on average are up, so we don't think we can do a lot more there. We have other areas where we can make improvements in terms of income, but we can't get to 50,000 that way. So we're going to have to look at the expense side of the budget, and we'll need people's help in making those decisions. So with that in mind, I'd like to move ahead and have a motion to approve the budget, and after we do that, we can have discussion. Is there a motion to approve? Okay, I've made the motion to approve, and Caitlin has seconded. All right. Is there any discussion? I'm happy to talk about any of these things offline also. So, seeing none, yes.
Are there any suggestions already about how to reduce expenses?
Well, we had, we took extensive notes during the town hall meetings, and the board is meeting on this Thursday for the first time, to consider those things. So I think there are ideas out there. I don't think we're ready to make comments. Yes. There were suggestions as part of the town hall meeting, but we don't really have, we haven't had a chance to evaluate them. So I think, and we really want to avoid doing things that are too abrupt here. So, so yes, we have, there are ideas, but we really need to get more input. And I think that's what we really want to do. Anything else? Okay, can we have a vote on the motion to approve the budget?
Okay, we have vote counters on the board.
Hold out our slips.
Yes. All in favor of adopting the proposed budget, please hold up your yellow slip. Okay. Have you got that count, Diana? Yeah. 27 plus 21, 48. All those opposed, please hold up your yellow slip. Two opposed. The budget is approved. Thank you, Walt. Full screen. Not sure exactly how to do that, but okay, got to get back to the right place. No, I'm going forward. Okay. So the next section is about delegates to the General Assembly, and the board has selected, as according to our bylaws, 4 General Assembly delegates and 1 alternate, and those folks are listed here. And there's been a lot of discussion about the proposed changes to the Article 2 of the UUA, and I think everyone knows quite a bit about that at this point. And in order to provide guidance for our General Assembly delegates as to the mood of the congregation on adopting the Article 2 proposed changes, we've decided to do a straw poll. And so it's non-binding. The delegates are responsible for discerning, considering the congregation's wishes as well as their own consciences and whatever comes up during General Assembly that may affect their decision. So this is just for information of the delegates. Please make sure you mark your paper ballot. It's intended to be a secret vote, secret ballot. And hold on to your ballots for in case there's other voting about officers coming up. We'll collect the ballots a little bit later. And next we'll do the offertory. And oh, question? Yes.
Would you mind refreshing my memory as to Article 2's content?
Wants to know about Article 2 content.
Article 2 content.
The flower with love at the center, and the other values are like interdependence, name some other ones. Equity, justice, love, transformation. That ring a bell?
There's a question in the back. Nellie?
It says I support the proposed amendments to Article 2. I don't know what I'm agreeing to. I'd like to see these proposed amendments before I vote.
If you want to find out about Article 2, you can go onto the UUA website. It has a lot of different avenues to explain Article 2. Article 2 kind of is, it talks about inclusion and getting more, not changing necessarily some of the principles, making them more equitable, to be more, they can fill in. I would be willing to provide that to you.
I would like to point out this is a straw poll. This is not a binding vote. This is just for information for the delegates. It was not our intention to have an information session or a debate about Article 2 at this annual meeting. Just simply an opportunity to provide your opinion at this moment for the delegates.
So it's okay to put in between on this if you're still thinking about it.
Correct me if I'm wrong then. Does this mean the amendment means it would replace, or would it be in addition to those 7 principles? Would it be a replacement or in addition to of the original 7 principles?
I'll let Reverend Sherry address that.
Testing, okay. I don't know how much we want to get into right now. We've been talking about it in worship all year, and there was a class, and there have been discussion groups. If you read the proposed new values, they incorporate a lot of the language from the 7 principles, but it is a new expression. And the 7 principles, as we know them, would not be there in exactly the same way. It would replace them.
And I would just add that the new amendments include accountability. In other words, we don't just say that we believe in these principles and values, but we're actually going to enact them in behaviors and actions.
I have been involved with looking at these changes for quite some time, and I am one of your delegates, and you have 3 other delegates, and I know that all of those folks have also looked deeply at these changes. So what I would suggest is that maybe we send out what the new Article 2 is, and then the delegates get together and then maybe have some kind of forum to address comments from the congregation.
Yeah, the vote's not till June.
Linda Parker.
If you have your phone or device with you today, go to the uua.org and use the search function to search for the proposed revision to Article 2, and hopefully that will answer some of your questions. And we've had numerous meetings and discussions throughout the year about the changes. So I think it's useful to read the final proposals because they have been, they do reflect changes suggested by members and churches throughout the nation. So you have the list of delegates. Feel free to talk to us personally, and we will share the variety of opinions that we have as delegates.
Okay, I think it's time for the offertory. Reverend Sherry.
Each week, as you know, we share with others through the community offering. Half of gifts not otherwise designated go to a local cause that resonates with Unitarian Universalist values. You can also give via your smartphone or the QR code online. For this month of May, our Share the Plate recipient is Access Period. This group helps combat period poverty by distributing period products free of charge throughout Omaha and across the state of Nebraska. Access Period is focused on fighting menstrual inequality. 1 in 4 people who menstruate experience period poverty in their lifetime. Often people who don't have access to menstrual products can't show up to school or work because of shame and stigma, making it difficult to connect with our neighbors experiencing period poverty. Products are typically packaged in 1 and 3 mint quantities and are distributed in many different places, including Yes Street Outreach Shelter, food pantry distributions, bars, stores, and schools. And Access Period has also provided products for our bathrooms and for the blessing bags that we give out through our neighborhood ministry to folks who come to the church seeking help. And I'm also going to put up this memoriam slide while the choir offers a gift of music.
In time of silver
Now we come to election of officers. The nominating committee has nominated for president Douglas Lee Regier. All in favor of electing Douglas Lee Regier president, please hold up your yellow slip. Counters, please count. Twenty-two and 26, 47. Diana, you got that? Oh, 28, 48. And all opposed? Hold up your yellow slip. I see none. It's unanimous. President-elect. The nominee from the nominating committee is Sherry Connor. Sherry, are you here? Where's Sherry? Oh, there she is. All right. All in favor of electing Sherry Connor, president-elect, hold up your yellow slip. Twenty-two and 26, 48. In favor, all opposed, hold up your yellow slip. Seeing none, it's unanimous. Sherry Connor, welcome. For the election of Board of Trustees, the entire slate, which has been nominated by the nominating committee, I'm going to recuse myself because I'm nominated, and our new president will preside for this voting.
This is the entire slate here. Yes, for 3 years, Kimberly Donovan. Please stand. I'm being prompted. Kimberly. And also Mark Luskatoff. For 1 year, Diana Bird. And Frank Wagner. All right. I entertain, are there any further nominations? Hearing none, the motion is passed that nominees are elected. So that is our slate of new members. What's that? Vote? Yes, okay, thank you. Yes, of course. I'm getting practice for next year. Thank you, Beth. Yes, all those in favor of this slate of nominees? Fabulous nominees. And I can vote on this. All right, the total is? $50? Okay. 50 are in favor. Those opposed? And so the slate is selected. So these are our new board members.
I'm going to go back just for a moment because I forgot to ask, are there any nominees from the floor for president? Are there any nominees from the floor for president? Are there any nominees from the floor for president? Hearing none. Are there any nominees from the floor for president-elect? Any nominees from the floor for president-elect? Any nominees from the floor for president-elect? Hearing none. For the Board of Trustees. All right. Yeah, we did that, right. All right, next. Right Relations Committee. The slate is Kaylin Goldner and Elaine Wells. Would you please stand? Are there any nominees from the floor for Right Relations? Are there any nominees from the floor for Right Relations? Are there any nominees from the floor for Right Relations? Hearing none, please hold up your yellow slip if you vote in favor of Kaylin Goldner and Elaine Wells for the Right Relations Committee. +23 plus 27 is 50. All opposed, please hold up your yellow slip. Seeing none, Kaylin and Elaine are elected. Nominating Committee. For 2 years, Sarah Copeland and Jessica Eman are nominated, and for 1 year, Carol Ramsey. Are there any nominees from the floor? Any nominees from the floor for Nominating Committee? Any nominees from the floor? Hearing none, please hold up your yellow slip if you vote in favor of the slate. +24 plus 27 is 51. Yeah. All opposed, hold up your slip. All right, it's unanimous. Sarah, Jessica, and Carol are elected to the Nominating Committee. For Capital Trust, we have Tim Duggan. Tim, are you here? I don't see Tim. Are there any nominees from the floor? Any nominees from the floor for Capital Trust? Any nominees from the floor? Hearing none, hold up your yellow slip if you're in favor of electing Tim Duggan to the Capital Trust. All those opposed, hold up your yellow slip. Seeing none, the vote is unanimous. Whatever the count was. It was unanimous. Tim Duggan is elected. We've had several of our volunteers completing their terms this year. Beth Conover took over for John Ruska, who was in a bad accident. And I was on the board. I very much appreciate Beth stepping up, and I appreciate John for his service. Joe Schaff is completing his term as the Capital Trustee. Terry Lynn Brewer and Diana Bird are completing their terms on the Nominating Committee. And let's show some appreciation for all these great volunteers. Next, the Nominating Committee will recognize volunteers.
This is the best part of nominating committee, is hearing about all the wonderful things that people do in our church community. And it's a tough decision to look at all the great nominees for the awards that we have, but that's the fun part of the job. So I'd like to call Kaylin up to help with the presentation of our first award. Kaylin's going to be presenting the Unsung Unitarian Universalist Award.
This year's recipient has been avoiding the spotlight for years and prefers to work behind the scenes. Our recipient has served on the board, membership team, stewardship team, office team, Women's Alliance, has painted exterior doors, moved pews, repaired seat cushions, handles the recycling, helps tend the garden, sends invitations and thank you notes, stuffs envelopes, I'm getting tired, greets. Now I lost my thing here. Oh, sorry, I'm not very good at this. Oh, I hit something. Okay, here we go. Okay. Sorry about that. Stuffs envelopes, greets, makes coffee, fills in for Kat during vacations, decorates for Christmas, serves at every memorial service with setup, cleanup, and baking. If that isn't enough, has also been a founding member of the Yes House meal team and is always more than willing to do the dreaded dishwashing and cleanup at any event. It's exhausting just listening to all these tasks, and I'm sure there are many more contributions than have been skipped here. But this year's recipient is our cheerful and always willing to help UU energizing bunny, Lois Norris. Thank you, Lois, for all you do.
Thank you, and congratulations, Lois. Okay. I gotta get with the times because all these people have it on their phone and their device, and I'm still losing my papers. It's my privilege to present the Keeping the Faith Award today. Keeping the Faith Award was established to recognize people who live by UU principles. It is presented to persons who have worked to keep Unitarian Universalism alive in their community and who touch the lives of the congregation and community members in a positive way. This year's recipient certainly exemplifies honoring the inherent worth and dignity of all persons, acceptance of one another, and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregation, the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process within our congregation and society at large, and most certainly respect for the interdependent web of all existence. But perhaps more notably this year, our nominee has shown that he lives by the second principle of justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. He has demonstrated an example of living right relations in action. Our recipient has a long history with our church and with social justice work that supports UU values, so his list of gifts of time and talent are too long to detail fully. A few highlights include his participation in events that support our welcoming congregation renewal, the Green Team, sister church activities, Side with Love and UU the Vote, OTOC, the Ministerial Search Committee, Ministry Teams Council, President-elect, and President of the Board of Trustees. Whether it's through sharing vegetables from his garden, sharing information about composting with the RE students, helping a church member with a car problem, tutoring an elementary school student, presiding over a meeting, or attending workshops or coffee hour, he always seems to connect with people through care and compassion. One of his goals as board president this past year was to develop policies to promote healthier conflict management and communication among members. He is a great role model for how to learn, grow, reflect, and take action to find a way to leave things better than you found them. I am very pleased to present the 2024 Keeping the Faith Award to Mark Loskatov. I'd like to call Terry Lynn Brewer up to present our next award, which will be the Heritage Award.
This award goes to a longtime member of our church who has dedicated himself throughout the years. He has been given the Henry Lemon Lecture and knew Dr. Henry Lemon, and is then a fantastic, well-known neurosurgeon in Omaha. He knows the history of this church like you could just walk up to him and ask him anything about any of the plaques in this church, this great, wonderful church. And he was married to his wonderful wife, Kay Lynn, in this church. And I'd like to present this Heritage Award to John Wagner, Goldner. To me, John's in this church. John.
Mary Kay Peters will present our next award, which is the Young Adult of the Year Award. Hello,
When the nominating committee contacted me about a month ago and asked if I could present this award for Young Adult of the Year, I was really happy to agree to do that. And I've had the pleasure to work closely with our recipient on the worship arts team this past year and have seen firsthand the many contributions that she's made to our church community. She's been described by me as love and light personified, while others claim that she is sunshine and kindness in human form. She has stepped up on multiple times this past year to help bring drama, dance, and delight to our worship services. She's always been patient and kind with other members of the worship team and also with various other members of the congregation that she's interacted with this past year, often willing to volunteer with enthusiasm to help the team out. I think she's made a big impact on our community, even though she hasn't been a member for that long. But this past year, she's interacted with us very visibly as a goddess, a ghost, a couple of sacred dances, and finally, Miss Piggy. It's not always easy to open yourself up and make yourself vulnerable in front of a crowd, but the reward of sharing and community can be a beautiful thing. So it's my pleasure to award the Young Adult of the Year to Kira Spooner.
Wow. I feel like I have received so much more than I have given in just being honored and asked to do these things. So I'm just going to take the advice of John's father and say thank you.
I'm going to ask Dave Richardson to present the next award, which is the Social Justice Award.
This computer.
Is this working for the TV?
In the section of our bylaws that describes our annual awards, it states, "The Social Justice Award pays tribute to someone who bears witness to the ideals of social justice and responsibility so important to our UU heritage." This very aptly describes our recipient's work in social justice. Words to describe our recipient include caring, considerate, concerned, thoughtful, unselfish, also a few others that will come on my screen shortly. Friendly, sunny, joyful, delightful, and witty, all essential characteristics useful in doing social justice work. Our recipient has been active in many ways, serving on the board several times, the Nominating Committee, selected as a delegate to represent First Unitarian at the UU General Assembly, the Caring Committee, our recipient is a member of the choir, led the effort to recertify the church as a welcoming congregation. Efforts for LGBTQ rights, including the Pride Parade and other events. Participating and leading in UU the Vote, Side with Love, Beloved Community, our friend church, Clare Memorial United Methodists Food Bank, Involved in many service activities in the broader community, canvassing for candidates, working with the diverse women lifting our voices, which encourages get out the vote efforts among women in the African American community. All these worthy activities do not tell the whole story. They do not reflect the quiet, helpful, and thoughtful acts of kindness and grace she does without being asked. When she knows that others in the church and outside of the church have needs, she is there. Her acts of kindness, such as providing rides, visiting persons who may need some companionship, especially in difficult times, and countless other selfless acts of kindness. She is a friend to everyone. She has done so many acts of kindness and assistance to others in the congregation, most of these which she does very quietly. She does these things with a smile and often a friendly chuckle. When she does receive recognition and thanks, she is quick to praise the work of others. She is often the first person we call on when help is needed. She not only brings acts of kindness, but she also brings joy to our lives. We are better people because of Carol Ramsey.
Linda Parker is going to present our next award for religious education.
Many people have found their way to a Unitarian church via recommendations from a friend. Questions about the meaning of life, how to live a meaningful life, how to find a supportive community during the troubled and joyful times of life are quests that are common to us all. Adult religious education is one avenue for meeting these needs. Dedicated leaders make adult RE relevant and purposeful. Today we honor one such leader, Mike McAtee. Mike found First Unitarian Church because a friend encouraged him to explore the big questions about life at our church. Mike liked what he found and became fully engaged in our church during a time when the Unitarian Universalist Association was undergoing change. Mike fully engaged with the many opportunities that our church provides. But he did more than just participate. He quickly moved into various leadership roles. Just to name a few: Soul Matters, Sharing Circles, AHA, serving as a delegate to UUA's General Assembly, and Article 2 discussions. Mike and I have had many discussions about Article 2, both in formal meetings and more casually during coffee hour after Sunday service. I have learned much as I talked with him. Mike is a good listener, an important characteristic for a leader. I always look forward to my interactions with Mike on any topic. I am honored to present the award for adult religious education to Mike McAtee for outstanding achievement and excellence in religious growth and learning. Mike, will you please come forward?
I'd like to ask Walt Justa to come up and present a religious education award.
Thank you. We decided to do things a little differently this year and present 2 awards in religious education, one for adults and one for work with children. And another deviation in our procedures is that we're going to present an award to somebody who's already received this award. That's generally not done. I often kid my wife about the fact that she was awarded Unitarian of the Year twice, and her reply always is, "It wouldn't have happened when I was in charge of the nominating committee." But we're doing it intentionally this time because we think the conditions just really require it. So what we're going to do here is again nominate Roman Noriega for his contributions to the RE program. And this was previously recognized by Donna, actually presented that award in 2015. And his contributions were discussed in the recent memorial service, but I think they were overshadowed by discussions of the jokes, the t-shirts, and the cookie baking, and so forth. Great service though it was. Roman worked as a helper in the RE program for as long as I can remember, week in and week out. He was here doing this probably 50 weeks a year. He provided strong support to lead educators in the RE program, always taking the secondary job of helping wherever he could, providing crowd control and other things in the process. He is apparently very good at teaching them about Roman numerals, so I think he made many contributions to the program. Christina Strong believes he put in more hours than any other RE volunteer. And this, of course, was somebody who did not have children in the program himself. We all enjoyed the jokes, the t-shirts, and the cookies, but Roman's greatest contribution to this church was his commitment to religious education of our children. So for his long-term commitment to the RE program, our second RE award goes to Roman Noriega. And I don't know if Christine is here to take the award or not, but I would hope that she was. Well, we'll make sure that she gets it. Thank you.
I'd like to ask Ben Stallings to present our Youth of the Year award.
Hello. I've been working with youth here in Omaha for the last 5 years, but I've been working with Unitarian youth in general for about 30 years now. And one of the things I like best about it is that I get to see these, children become the people that they're going to be for the rest of their lives. And every fall, our local YRUU group formulates a covenant to help guide how they are going to relate to each other throughout the year. And one of the rules that typically gets put in the covenant can be paraphrased as take space and make space. And what that means is that each youth has the responsibility to speak up when they have something important to say, but they also have the responsibility to make sure everyone else's voice is heard. It's a tricky rule to follow. A lot of us adults have trouble with that. But this year's recipient probably exemplifies that rule better than anyone I've ever seen. And excuse me. So it's been a real privilege to work with her, and I can't wait to see where she goes next. This year's, excuse me. This year's recipient is Samara Sanchez Soto.
And our final award is Unitarian of the Year, which will be presented by Dave Richardson.
If I were to list all the reasons that our recipient is selected as UU of the Year, we would be here for a very long time. Then we'd all have to miss Masterpiece Theater tonight, which I believe starts at 8. Our recipient is a past president of the Board of Trustees. She first served as president back in 1997. She must have been like 17 years old at that time. Most recently, she has agreed to serve on the Board of Trustees during time of shifting personnel and change in lay leadership. Her presence has provided needed stability. She has also agreed to serve another term on the board as we enter into another period of innovation and transformation. This past year, she has served as the leader of our beloved community and Side with Love efforts. Her leadership in these areas has brought us closer ties with our fellow Unitarian churches in the area. She's reached out to Second Unitarian and Lincoln Unitarian to sponsor joint efforts in anti-racism and other social justice efforts. She has attended unicameral hearings in support of issues such as women's reproductive rights, a position this church has advocated. She is also a co-founder of Morning Reflections during our COVID period. She has served as the caretaker of the Wayside Pulpit out facing Harney Street, our window to the outside community. She is involved in Alternatives to Violence, in Flatwater Leadership Collective, and many other things that go unnoticed but are essential. Not only does she do all these things, but she does them very well. I call her our compassionate consigliere. She brings many talents to us. These attributes include her experience as a lawyer, her understanding of governance, her skills as a compassionate problem solver. She is candid, but always respectful in her candor. She is a great listener. Perhaps most of all, best of all, she provides moral and ethical compass for this church. She is dedicated to this church, always looking for ways to make this a better place for all of us. Thank you, UU of the Year, Kim Donovan.
And now, to adjourn our meeting, our newly elected President, Douglas Lee Regier. Sorry, Jamie, what? Yes, oh, yes. Yes, thank you. Yes, I forgot that. Ushers, can you please collect all of the votes? Thank you, Jamie. I forgot. Thank you. Okay. Douglas, I give you the gavel.
Well, thank you. So it's my sole duty to tap the gavel and say meeting adjourned. But before I do that, I'd like Beth Conover's help in giving a gift to this one who has made this job look so easy, a hard act to follow. So Beth, come on up and tap.
It would be hard to add to what we've already said about Mark, except that as a board member, and I've served under many fabulous board presidents, let me say, Mark is one of them. He is organized, always prepared, a good listener, committed to democratic process, one of the only presidents I knew who read Robert's Rules of Order completely before starting. He worked really hard. He did a terrific job. It's been a pleasure to be a board member under him. And the board has a little gift. It's a sterling silver low tarnish lapel pin made by this lovely artist in New Mexico. So with our thanks.
And I just want to add to Mark one more thank you. And that is, I'm glad you're still on the board. You're coming back on, because I'm going to need you right next to me as we go throughout this year. All right. With no further ado, the meeting is adjourned.